January 7th, 2025. Here are the chair of the Transportation Committee. Along have Ms. Cazalabora, who's the chair of the Finance Committee, and tonight we'll be doing a joint building, grounds, transportation, and finance to discuss ESOP. Present for tonight's meeting is Dr. Shanley, Dr. Lehman, Ms. Schratner, Ms. Laura Allen, Ms. Katie Fabiana, Ms. Amanda Peck, Mr. Gerald Tate from our facilities department. We're going to start this meeting off speaking about the ESEP program. That's the Energy Savings Improvement Program that the district's working on fulfilling. Hopefully tonight there's a lot of questions that we may have that need to be answered. And I guess we'll start with Mr. Tate.
Yes, good evening, everyone. So tonight is a continuation of the process that we've been doing with the BGT&S committee. This is a presentation that you've seen before, but it's been refined as we work through the process. Tonight, we have here with us again, Ms. Carolyn Jackson from Honeywell. She'll be doing the presentation. She has our supporting team, Paul Peters, Tim Labrick, Emily Lee, and Catherine Galvez. We also brought tonight with us a panel in case there's any questions in specific areas. We have Mr. Anthony Verso, who's handling financing from Phoenix Advisors. We have Ms. Jacqueline Shanos, attorney with McCarter and English. He's on bond counsel, and he's been dealing with us probably for about a quarter century.
Yeah, make me feel old, Jerry.
And remotely, not yet tied in, but should be shortly, is Ms. Hope Blackburn, board legal counsel from Bush Law. Should be done in so at this time, we'll turn the order over to Catherine, and she'll be going through the presentation which each of the committee members will use.
Hi, everybody. Caroline Jackson. Thanks so much for having me again. I guess we were here in November speaking about this. We've done a lot of work since then. I'll take you through the presentation. Some of the slides I'm going to go through very quickly because you've seen them before. You guys have it? Do you guys you just have it here? Okay, you don't have it here. So do you not? Oh, I have a copy. You have a copy. Is everyone good? Does anyone need a copy? I do some extra copies if anyone needs to have it. Sorry, I usually have a separate one.
No, that's fine.
I want to make sure you.
We like to.
We good.
So, yeah, so we've been working through the process. We're just gonna, again, you guys know what an energy savings improvement program is, a program paid for with energy and operational savings, grants and rebates. Over the term, we are, looking at taking the savings and applying them over the 20 years. The funding in additional to energy savings is estimated rebates, which are custom prescriptive from PSE&G and Jersey Central. We also have one, and you'll see, I think you probably noticed there's an alternate that it's a new grant for decarbonization that would relate to the Apple Park School project you're already doing. We're trying to secure you some additional grants for that. So, but that's why there's an alternate, because it's a brand new program started this year. It's been approved, but until we see it on paper, we don't want to, we can't do that, obviously. But we want to make sure that you know that we're looking at it for you.
We're already doing that work. So
Right,
we could
so-
offset our cost by 1.2 million if that grant comes through.
Right, well, so what we would do is we could apply to this program. Like you already have your funding, I believe, set for that project. So we can mix and match projects. So where you have projects that we can take energy savings, it can help build this project as well. So so that grant is one of them. If we're doing rebates and grants for everything else, we can do that as well. Like I said, it's a new program. It is defined the amount of the grant per, I'll help me, BPs, per third saved.
Third saving kilowatt.
Kilowatt hour saved, right? So that's determined, but we don't see an application yet. There's not a program director. So we think by January 30th, that will be set and we'll be able to know if we can go with that alternate or not. All right, so in terms of our process here, we are really still in the end of the phase one. We're moving, once this goes forward and you have funding, we can then move on to design and the procurement of the project. But just again, to review where we've been and where we're going, your LGA reports have been complete. We've been in communication with the ESEP director, Michelle Rossi. You've done the resolution to select us. Again, and then we've gone through and done the energy savings plan. That's under review now with the BPU. It's already been approved by the third party. And, we've selected the measures. So here's the, presentation of all the different measures. I don't know how much you want to go through the measures. I have the slides that we did last time where it kind of shows the different measures. Should I speak through each one? But just, again, I'll just like tell you what this is. So these are all the measures we looked at, all the schools. And the green, it looks very neon on this slide, but the green is where, we chose those measures. And then, the orange is things you're doing already that maybe we took savings or we're getting a rebate for. And the blue has to do with what we put as the alternate, if we can get that decarbonization grant. All right, now, part of, what we're doing right now is building there's a very specific schedule you have to do for your funding bond, your energy refunding bond for this, in terms of putting in your application and, being at a local, New Jersey Finance Board meeting. So part of this project that we're putting out to you is the largest project. We want to show you a not to exceed so you can get approval, but then we're going to be pulling it back as like, again, these are the higher numbers, and we're going to pull it back. We have some operational savings to confirm and some different things to confirm, but Anthony and, Jackie can speak to that. So, I don't think this is a place to go over the project. I have other slides a little ahead. So I'm going to go over a little bit of the financials and then we'll come back to what's in the project. So, one of the things that was asked the last time was how do we select and how do we prioritize the things that are in the project? So we did go back and compare. This slide I have right here is all the different large mechanical systems we're replacing in the district. And as you can see, the age of the equipment is past what the ASHRAE useful life is. So that was really the main priority. There are probably more things we could select if there were more savings, but we did the best we could. So I don't know, Jerry, if there's anything you want to say for that.
These are our most pressing needs, boilers and chillers in the schools. They're large capital projects, and this is our opportunity to get them completed. If you go through some of the documents in terms of energy savings, we replace boilers at Barclay Brook. You're not looking at a great energy savings there, but you're looking at a critical infrastructure need to keep that school operational. Your energy savings will come from some of the other things primarily the lighting.
Can I,
Great.
just on that slide, could you expand RTU and AHU, please?
Oh, I'm so sorry. I should have to put
No, that's-
25 cents
that's
in
okay.
it. So rooftop unit, we have so many small spreadsheets working on, and air handling unit. So a lot of times the rooftop units, the air handling units, the split systems kind of they look the same to people. If you go to a roof, it could be an air handling unit, it could be a rooftop unit. They're a little different in the engineering definition, but I think the key and the most important thing on the slide is that most of them were installed in 1999 or 2000. They're 25 or 26 years old, and they are past their useful life. So like a split unit or rooftop unit has a little less of a life because there's a lot more moving parts than maybe an air handling unit that is a little less, but they're all older than what, they're meant to last. So, I mean, I know in this district, you have a great history of keeping your systems updated, maintained, and having a replacement plan. And so that's what this is basically a plan to use the energy savings from things like solar, from lighting, from building envelope. All these do give you efficiencies and save you, but it's really being paid for by the mix of the solutions that we've selected. Make sense? And then, in the controls, we've kind of gone back and forth. We're going to work on some controls at the middle school, a little bit at the high school, and we had them in the transportation building. Jerry's going to be doing some projects you funded separately, but those controls are very old as well. And so some of the controls are obsolete. So if you lose like the controls in the unit ventilator or air handling in our schools, that's a big emergency expense to replace all those controls. You can't get the components unless you forge for them. All right. So in terms of the project scenarios, we have our base project, which is 11.9 million. And our alternate project, if we can get you that decarbonization grant, looking at about 12.6 million. And when you go through and look at how the financing is built up, you'll see that in addition to that, we have money that you'll finance for the audit that you completed, as well as the cost to go through the financing, right? So this is the part that's portioned to the Honeywell project, but there are other numbers. And if you have a confusion, it's just because of what's added in. We can explain that. So, the rate we've been running with, and I'm not sure what rate you used, Anthony, but you can speak to it, but we used a 4% in all our, like, cash flows that we did internally to make sure it paid for itself, but then we turn it over to Phoenix Advisors and they do it differently based on exactly how the project will fall into place. So, there's a very significant amount of energy savings in both projects. And, utility incentives obviously are a little bit less for the one where we can't get that decarbonization grant, but we've kind of gone through and laid that out there.
I'm sorry, I'm gonna go back to my question
Sure.
about the decarbonization grant. I'm
Sure.
really confused. So we're saying that the cost of the project we would do more things if we get that grant.
Correct, correct.
We could choose not to do more things and push that grant money towards, because we're already doing the project that's going to get us the grant money.
We have a ROD grant that is funding the work at Applegarth School.
Right.
That is not a
That is not
utility
this.
related grant.
No, but this decarbonization grant
Yes.
of $1.2 million is something new
Correct.
that we're gonna apply for because we're doing the work, or we're not, we're already doing.
We already, it's the work that we are contracted under the ROD grant. It's currently under construction, or to be under construction at Applegarth School. So the timing just came about. It's an opportunity for us to take that money and apply it to other areas.
Right, so my question is, if we get the money and don't push it towards other projects,
Yeah.
it would reduce our overall base project.
No, because you
No.
can't, he'll explain, you're getting two grants and they have to be utilized, they both have to be utilized.
Not
for that.
Not for any other project.
Correct.
It has to be
Correct.
pushed into the same project.
Well, I want to clarify what you just said. It can be used for other parts that are similar to this. It doesn't have to be specifically used for Applegarth because that's already being covered by that grant. But it would be used for other facility needs that are within the scope of this.
Correct.
Okay, so those projects, those alternate projects would need to be done to utilize that money. Is that, am I
They
understanding?
are big. The board issued a contract in November, EACM for $5.7 million, which is being funded through the ROD grant. And that work is happening. Because of the nature of that work, decarbonization component, there's an opportunity to realize some money from the district, which we can apply to.
So the two columns, the base project cost, the value is 11.9, but with the decarbonization grant is 12.6 million. We're doing more work, different work,
Yes.
if we
yeah,
get the grant.
Right, right.
Additional.
And those grants, just so you know, it's more than just filling out an application. They're usually, and we don't know all the specifics, that's part of the problem, it's brand new. But there's usually some engineering and follow-up, like kind of like we did with performance or the engineered solution. We don't know the specifics of what's needed.
And
You
that's
probably
why-
do need engineering support to apply for the grant and then show what happens after the grant, but we don't know. So that's, again, we could have just come and just said, oh, let's do the first project, and that would have been a lot easier to explain, but we don't want to leave anything on the table for you. Like, there are other incentive programs that we're still researching for you behind the scenes, and as soon as we know them, we'll bring them forward and integrate them in the project as it goes.
Just in regards to the savings total, and it sort of was on the next page that you
Yeah.
had went to as well, where there's a guarantee,
Yeah.
energy guarantee required to provide. Is that also in line with like the cost savings guarantee? I think one of the big concerns that came up was that we are sort of laying out this money, through a bond.
Yeah.
And there are certain projects, like Mr. Tate said, that we really need to do anyway. And so this would at least help us cover the costs of some of these. I guess my big concern is if we are, not expecting, if we're expecting to get a certain amount back and that doesn't come through, we're a district that, we have a very tight budget.
Right.
And so I just wanted to sort of understand if we do these projects that cost that much and then we only, this cost of energy goes up and skyrockets from what it was, or
Right,
is
right.
there any type of guarantee?
Those are very, very good questions and so important. There's a couple components to that. So in terms of our project, we'll be guaranteeing, if you choose a guarantee, like, again, we offer that no matter what. So you can choose based on, your discussions between you, and you guys are all talking about it the other day too. So it's really important that you understand that this is a guarantee for the amount of energy saved. So it's at the cost that's current today. So it's still very important, and I spoke to this with Jerry and Laura about this, that you increase and escalate your energy budget as you normally would, because if those costs go up, you're still gonna pay more, but you're not gonna be buying the energy that we save with this project, and that's where your savings will be. It starts at the rate that's set today, and then we do escalate the savings based on what BPU gives us. There are lots of changes coming in utility bills and some maintenance that is being done and some additional costs, so I definitely recommend like having a little extra in there. Next June, there's supposed to be some increases, depending what contract you're in for buying your supply portion of your bill. Really another discussion. But so what ESIP has done is kind of put a standard way to measure and calculate the energy savings. You've had a third-party engineer, Johnson Urban, did a review of the savings to make sure they're correct. And then the BPU checks that all the processes were taken. And then we're required to offer you a guarantee. The cost to guarantee those energy savings is $36,252 a year in the first year. That would increase like a regular maintenance contract, and we'll give that to you ahead. If you decide to move forward, you can do that as long as you decide you need to do that. Trying to think. So that gives you assurance that if there's any difference, we can take the time to figure it out and calculate the difference. Now, we were speaking the other day about what's included in the guarantee and what's not, and I think we can move on. This is a cash flow based on our not to exceed project or bigger project. And I get these are really little numbers for everyone, but there is the energy savings. That's basically your gas and electric. There's the solar savings, which we have right now. There's a bid out for solar. We budgeted based on this project, but we think the numbers will come back based on other recent projects. And then there's the operational savings, which again is a not to exceed amount. We're going to pare those down. We're going to work with Jerry and Laura on those. And then there's the energy incentives, right? We feel very sure about the prescriptive and custom rebates that are in there. It's a decarbonization rebate. Again, we're looking at not to exceed amount here, but the solar guarantee will come right from solar. So they're going to guarantee that they're going to produce X amount of energy at each of the schools identified, and that it's going to be, you're only going to have to pay 4 cents per kWh. So that saves you between 4 and like where you are now, which is like 12. So that's guarantee comes from them. The rebates and utility incentives, we calculate very carefully based on the published data, but we cannot guarantee that. It's from the utility company that they change things, but we don't expect any changes now, except for, like I said, there's confirmation. So those are not guaranteed. So you're really guaranteeing the column 1 or the column 2, there's a year and then the annual energy savings. That's what our guarantee would cover, that portion. Is that a good, based on what we were talking the other day? Do you think that's going?
It's kind of like an insurance.
It is.
Is that one of the resolutions today?
Yeah, if that's the decision that the board goes with,
Okay,
yes.
so that is the annual energy savings and solar. Solar is guaranteed by
The company that you will select, that'll happen in the next.
The
3 or 4
energy
weeks.
savings and the operational savings are the ones that you're.
Well, the operational savings is more of an upfront, like, we see that we're gonna save that. So again, that's a not to exceed number. We're gonna bring that down. But, it's in the guarantee, but it's written as assumed,
It's
based
the
on,
energy savings that you guarantee.
The $170,000.
well, that's in the installation period. Year 1 is 500. I can't see the. Yes, yeah.
Can't read
It's
that.
almost half a million every
Well,
year.
and again, so does that answer your question? Like, it is,
Yeah.
that's a very important question, and so we try to we should probably put on a spreadsheet, how many districts select the guarantee and how many they don't. So, it's like the different things people consider is how some projects are very small. Like, you have a small project, the guarantee might cost the same amount because it's the same activity. So you have a larger district, a larger project. So your energy saving guarantee is like a smaller percentage of your actual savings.
Right.
But we would have to miss by 36,000 for you to get a benefit from that.
Right, but we're talking about potentially millions of dollars in savings. I mean, don't get me wrong, like I would take $36,000 if anybody wanted to offer it to me.
But it's not
that
millions of
small,
dollars.
but
Be
it's-
careful,
right.
don't say that because it's yearly. So you're paying $36,000 every year for the guarantee. So if
Right.
you're saving X amount of dollars, you're not saving millions over the life of the time period,
Yeah.
but the cost is not millions.
Because we have the activities that have to go
Right.
into showing that.
Am I right, Mr. Take?
Yeah, so the 36,000 for the first year, is applicable to the projected roughly $565,000 in savings.
Right, so you're actually paying less than 10% of the probable savings in cost to guarantee that savings, just to make it layman terms.
The guaranteed of 500,000.
Correct.
Of energy savings every year.
I'm the energy savings.
So you would have to come in, 50,000 under in order to
Make it worth it.
realize any benefit. Because the first 36,000 you came in under is washed out by the premium.
And I would assume that you have to just decide on the guarantee right away.
Yes.
This isn't something where we could say like in 2 years. We
No,
want,
no, because
like
we really
anything
need
else.
to, we have to decide before the project starts. Because there's activities that we do with an installation for metering and monitoring and setup to make sure you're set up for us to do that guarantee. So, I think this might be a
While
good,
we're on that sheet, could I ask you a question about what is the operational savings and why is it only 5 years? What is the
so that's a
company?
BPU requirement, and it's very funny. In other states, they go up to 20 years with it. So we kind of get a placeholder there for you at a bigger amount, and we're gonna whittle it down. Laura and Jerry asked a lot of questions. I do have backup for all those numbers. You're allowed 2 years for mechanical related savings. So we took a certain amount for each air handler unit we're changing, a chiller, boiler, assuming that you're gonna save some maintenance on that. You're not gonna have an emergency. You're not, you have it like, you have to do 2 new tubes in the chiller. The lighting is based on the number of lamps and ballasts, the number of like compact fluorescents. It's each and every type of light, the average cost of that material only for, over a certain amount of period. So if it's like $6 a tube and that tube would last 3 years, we take $2 each year for the 5 years for that tube times how many tubes.
Caroline,
So it's an average.
just overall, so the BPU, the 2 and 5 years, the 2 years operational savings on equipment, controls, and 5 years on lighting, that's protected districts. The BPU put that rule in there, so we're not gonna take 20 years of operational savings. So that's where those timeframes come,
Okay.
okay?
It doesn't mean that you don't get the savings longer, like there's 10-year warranties on lamps and fixtures now. They're thinking about extending it.
You'll get the savings, but we're not allowed to.
We're not allowed to factor that into
Right.
these numbers. Okay. Thank you.
I guess, so in terms of the, I think this cash flow is actually our numbers, our savings projections we provided to Phoenix, and then they provided the cash flow. I didn't know if you wanted to talk about it a little bit or get into how it would be financed and how that works.
We can, you want to go there? So just real quick, I'll start off, and then if there's questions regarding the process that maybe we can handle later, so you can get through the rest of the slides. But as Caroline mentioned, we rely on the energy savings, operational savings, solar savings, rebates, et cetera, that they provide to us, and that has been verified. We don't independently calculate those. So using that information, we structure the payback on the bonds to ensure that you're going to have positive savings in each year. We're required to have positive savings in each year. We can't do a $20 million project with this cash flow because you'd have negative savings every year probably. So we've sized the issue based on the projects that were provided, roughly 12.7 million of project cost. We used the 4% interest rate that Honeywell had assumed initially as a safe number. We think we're going to be below that, but that was a nice round number to use, and we felt comfortable with it. So we'll just stick with that for now. If we were to sell today, we'd probably be a little bit better than that, but we're not selling for a couple of months now. So we felt that was a good safe number. We've amortized the bonds essentially over 21 years, 20 years of principal repayments. The first year is interest only as we get through the installation period. And during that period, because the project's going to ramp up in terms of projects that are completed and produce savings, we want to make sure that the district isn't in a situation where you have to pay interest on the bonds, but you don't have enough savings to pay for it. So we structured in what's called capitalized interest for that first year. So you'll see that in the orange section of estimated debt service, the $602,000. What that is we're just essentially borrowing that money in advance. So you're borrowing $602,000, sticking it into an account that will then pay the interest on the bonds so that you're not coming out of your budget for those interest payments. And then we, as you can see, we sort of structured the repayments around the total savings, front load some of the debt repayments for when we expect the energy rebates to come in. And those we're always careful about because sometimes those take longer than expected. So we want to make sure that that's in line and we're not being too aggressive there. And as you can see that after all this is said and done, after we structured into capitalized interest, any cost of doing the financing, and then the size of the project, we have about $20,000 of net savings in each year. And that's more than what's required by the BPU for a financing like this. Now, of course, we want to kind of keep that in our back pocket because if rates move against us and we have to borrow at 4.25 or 4.5, which I would think would be unlikely, you know, that 20,000 will start going away. So we do like that cushion that we have right now. And, you know, as the projects change and any savings numbers get adjusted, you know, we'll look at the cash flow to make sure that it's still sufficient, you know, and we're still providing that positive savings. We're assuming that these bonds will be issued in March, and then have the, you know, the first interest payment, as I mentioned, be capitalized. That would be in September of 2025. And then the first payment that the district will have to make out of its budget that would be fully covered by the savings from the project would be in, let me get this right, September of 2026, which would be in your 26-27 budget year. Any questions on that?
Just to follow up on a question, when you talked about the 20,000 extra, we always leave a little extra too, because you still have a variable for solar. We expect it to come in, you know, anything under 12 cents would give you savings. 12 cents per kW is about your average. We're expecting it to be around 4, but we, you know, if it came in 4.5 or 4.25, like we would always leave ourselves a little room.
So Laura, based on what we just heard, we're not going to use any money from our operating budget because, and
We don't have it.
when we have to make that payment, we would have already realized savings. And if we did not realize the savings, we have the insurance, like a guarantee, and it'll come from Honeywell.
Right, well, the guarantee starts when the project's complete.
Okay.
So, and then, but it does look backwards and forward, so you'll eventually have it. Like, we usually do a year after the project's complete is when we would like have to like look back and look at the savings.
So just let's think about that in terms of timing for this project. So installation essentially 18 months, I think is what.
And again, that's worst case.
For
Tim
everything.
could probably talk to that, you know, being our project manager, but some of the rooftop units recently have been giving a very long lead time. So, you know, we are hoping to move that faster, but
Right, so let's just say it ends up being a year. So
Right.
we have that capitalized interest period built in purposely to
Correct.
protect the district so
Yeah.
that if the savings are slower than anticipated, they're not coming out of pocket for debt payments.
so it'd be
But to the
fall
question of-
2027 would be kind of the timing of that guarantee
Guarantee, which
true
would,
up, right?
right, it'd be, so, well, all 2027 or it would be, because that would be beyond the 27 budget for the district, that would kind of fall into the 28 budget. Where in 27, they would have a principal and interest payment on the bonds that hopefully hopefully the savings are covered.
Yeah, so typically, I mean, again, we can look at it or if we need to alter it, look at it, but help me out, guys. It's usually when the project finishes, that we start the guarantee, we look monthly, and then we true up 2 years ago.
Correct. But as soon as the project starts, I mean, Tim and Catherine start doing basically LED lighting installing, so you're saving right away.
Yeah, what we try to do is, we always do is start the lighting right away. That's the biggest payback item. LED lights nowadays are pretty readily available. So pretty much as soon as you execute a contract, issue a purchase order and get started on the lighting. It's actually the biggest bang for your buck. Like Caroline said, the mechanical equipment has longer lead times, but those aren't the big energy savers anyway. It's the lighting that really drives it. The solar as well. We do our best to get the lighting started as soon as possible. So a month or two into the project, you're already seeing savings as soon as those lights are being installed.
I'd say about 4/5 of the project, looking at the numbers here, are from lighting savings. So it's like $459,000 a year is budget for lighting savings. And 565 is the total savings. So you're gonna be in good shape.
That was one of my questions too. The number keeps changing, right? Year over year, there's more savings and
That's the 2.2% escalation for electricity. One's 2.2 and one's 2.4, based on the BPU. And that's at the bottom.
Right. I did
Yeah.
read
The
that.
cost of the type should
For gas and 2.2 for.
and 2.2 for electric. And that's
But does
based,
our guarantee also cover as much as is being projected in these calculations?
it's based on, that's what we talked about a little bit earlier, it's based on the amount of energy. The cost is different, right? So that's what I was saying earlier,
Okay.
like Laura's gonna have to still increase her budget as per, at least at minimum. The market could change and say it's gonna be more increase. We don't know, like what, it's a market now for energy. But you should always increase your budget by these prescribed, by the Board of Public Utilities prescribed these. And the savings is escalated with what the cost is expected to go up. And it is conservative. It usually goes up more.
Yeah, what have you seen like for the last several years?
It's been like I looked at a project recently where we had a new BA to manage. Their price had gone up 30% from 4 years ago. It was crazy. This is out by the shore, but
Already back.
it's negative that the price keeps going up, but it's very positive that you're doing this because the price keeps going up. So you're actually saving more every time energy goes up. So
There's
there's more
74%,
savings.
it goes up by 2%. You're saving 2 cents because you would have been spending the 4, but actually you would have been spending the 6, but now you're only spending the 2.
Yeah,
That makes sense.
Just quick and
That
sound,
makes sense. That makes sense. That's how my mind works.
in simplest terms, there are 3 components to the savings. We have the savings from the solar, which is independent and not covered by the guarantee.
Right.
We have the savings by the grant and incentives, again, not covered by the guarantee. Guarantee strictly applies to units of energy, not the cost per unit.
The units.
Right now we're paying 12, 14 cents a kilowatt hour. The guarantee will evaluate energy usage, basically evaluate all of our bills through an engineering study and say, we were using 10 million kilowatt hours, we're now using 700,000. That's what the guarantee will do for you. And I can tell you very simply, as Carolyn pointed out, 4/5 of the project is covered by the lighting. And the lighting is the easiest thing to track. It is simply, we're going from light fixture or call a car that gets 30 miles a gallon to a car that will get 15 miles a gallon. So those units of energy are going to be very easy to track and guarantee will just validate that.
And plus-
You feel that you get that.
No, gas is still the same, it's just how much gas we.
Exactly.
Correct.
Gas price might go up, but the gallons you use.
As long as we continue to use that amount, yes, we're.
Can I trademark that explanation?
And I'd just point out to add to that, assuming that the school continues to operate like it always does, then you'll see those savings. If, God forbid, we have another COVID situation or something like that where school is, I am sorry. I have to say it though. I have
No,
to
it's
say
never
it.
gonna happen again.
If schools are shut down or something like that, and you're not operating the same way, that all this goes out the window because you're not using the same energy you were before. So, yeah, you're still probably saving money, but not to the same extent. So, I don't know what those numbers would actually look like and what the history has been with districts that are in these programs, during that time, but even that was a short period of time. It's not over, once again, God willing, 5, 10, 15-year period, but yeah, it does assume that you're operating in the same way that you always have. Schools open the same hours, the same months every year.
But schools do changes and then we find ways to like calculate that. You add night school and a wing, or you put an addition on. There's ways to calculate what that is. Now that we have base year and that's established, and that's why there's different things that go on during our installation where we meter and monitor certain things to capture how it is now.
Talking of unusual circumstances, the whole budget, the whole cost of the project is based on the price of goods right now, and we're all expecting things to change significantly in the next few months with
Based on the cost of,
price of goods, right? So
right.
the supplies, so I don't know. Hopefully it doesn't change by much, but if it does everything change here? The numbers
This has
change
been
here?
built as not to exceed price. Our job for you in this project is to provide you a price that we can't really change it because it's all based on it. So it's no change orders. If we do get better pricing, we will share that back with you and Tim will be responsible for that piece of it. But that's why we have budgetary language, but we're ready to go to a final, not to exceed price, no change orders within the next month for you, right? Like, that's why we're looking for these approvals. We have our, all the different people we have certain parts of the projects or vendors we know we'll use, maybe buy through a co-op. Other vendors will be bid, but we know that, we know the price. We've done this enough times.
So if the process gets pushed, or the decision gets pushed by another month, these numbers could change and your numbers would accordingly adjust to whatever your numbers. are.
Right, if there's a substantial enough change,
We also have right now, we're perfect for summer construction, we're the perfect time for that.
right, and we're relying on the cost that they provide, which is roughly 12.7 million. If that number for the same projects went to $13 million, then yes, we would rerun our cash flow and make sure everything still works. But I think this team probably has experience in the last few years, when costs of everything were skyrocketing, making sure that you're cushioning everything appropriately so that we don't have that kind of situation. But yeah, we will adjust things when we get to the point where we're going to the market to sell bonds. We need to know, okay, this is the number we're using. This is the project. We're just like if you did a referendum, you know the project is X number of dollars. That's what we're financing. Can't do $1 more. This is it. This is the number that we're doing. There might be, a few dollars here and there extra, but this is the number we're going. So that would be absolutely fine tuned over the course.
One of the
next couple
questions I had was related to this, that you've got 4 resolutions that we read through today, and
Right.
we don't yet have the final approval from the BPU.
Well, it will be, she had some trouble with her Teams rooms, but I think it'll be the next 3 days.
We're confident that's coming
Yeah.
before a board meeting.
Yeah, if not, we have the resolution read pending PPU approval, but, Michelle was she told me she had to me last Friday, but then, she always has to come with questions. We always go back and forth on a lot of different things. It's just how it works, but her Teams room, everyone's Teams are too secure and 2 different rooms she couldn't get into. So she just has a few more things to look at. I think we'll have it in the next 48 hours. She got an email back to us today and we should have it.
The resolutions are conditioned on DPU approval.
I would say.
When we go down to get the local finance board approval, that's one of the things they will ask us, or they will condition their approval if they're willing to do it on DPU approval also.
That was
So-
one of my concerns, is it normal to do that resolution with the language that it currently has, that is conditional to the,
It varies. I think a large driving factor here is what you heard Caroline say, that you're slotted, if you do it now, you're slotted to get this done during summer construction. So in those situations, school districts and boards of education will do things subject to receiving other approvals in order to get all their approvals lined up and not have to wait potentially another month to get your approval done.
does the guarantee cost come out of our operating budget, or is that finance?
It's not binding.
That's not finance.
Good questions, really good questions.
Well, we're looking at pennies and dimes in our budget, so.
How many districts would you say do these?
That's a.
If we asked that question, they said
The
50/50.
guarantee.
And how many of them benefit,
It's
End
like
up having
50% about do it, and our, we never pay out. It's I think we have a 99.9% success rate, but
Districts our size?
yeah. I mean,
Well, we
but
paid
I
for
don't
the
like
second.
to, I was like, I just try to keep quiet on that. I really want that to be your decision.
Right.
You
It'd
know,
be good to know, like, similar size district, like Mr. Vero said, like, if really they're not using the guarantee. Again, it's not nothing, I think everything can go towards something else if something that we feel like we would need.
When you first came, Ms. Jackson, didn't you bring examples of?
I do, I
all-
have so many examples, and I can go back and get some that have chosen a guarantee and,
Old Bridge, East Brunswick?
see what it is, I'm sorry.
Old Bridge, East
Yep,
Brunswick?
Old Bridge and East Brunswick were two in your county.
I think there was.
I don't know if you recall, they weren't my personal.
Did they
county,
use a guarantee?
but-
I think they both did. Yeah, we have Piscataway also, which is finishing up now. They took a guarantee.
But we don't have a result on it.
Yeah, we're still finishing up construction now, but they did take a guarantee, I think, for 3 years.
Now, if we do it yearly, which we have that ability,
Mhm.
we do it yearly, it is just like with any other service contract. So let's say it's board approved, January 15th with the guarantee. Does that mean the following January? Like, when will we have to know if we want to spend the guarantee again?
Guarantee starts, so like, with, when the project ends.
So if it's an 18-month all right, so it's whenever the project ends, the guarantee begins. So we have 1 calendar year from that year, and we have to make, and we can make the decision with no penalty of any kind to take the guarantee again or not, correct?
It's usually decided before contract, like that's included in your contract with.
So we'd have to decide right now whether we want
Or
more than 1
within the
year?
next 2 months.
No, we have done options.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah, we can do year to year, but she's saying when she's
No,
decided.
no, no. Exactly, but-
No, I think she's focused on whether they want to continue.
That's my question.
And most of our districts that have done that have usually dropped after year 2.
That is our point, exactly. That's why I wanted to ask that. Thank you. That's
Sorry.
exactly- No, he
Sometimes-
got exactly what I was asking.
That's why I haven't.
Yeah.
So what would you say, sorry, your success rate on the savings that have been projected and what actually?
We never,
You say
like
you
Paul
never-
was saying, he's never paid out, like, on a guarantee, it just never.
So your numbers
It's
are pretty.
very good, yeah. We have to be. We go through all kinds of reviews. Paul has to do internally, Paul and Emily do a peer review on the savings, then they go.
And
to
we
the
paid,
third
and we
party
also
review.
paid, we didn't wait for the state. Yeah, I agree. So we also paid for the additional, what we paid, I apologize. The independent
And a
audit,
third
correct.
party audit.
Yeah, third party audit. So we already vetted it.
Paid 100 to get the-
Yeah, we paid the third party audit to begin with.
Because even if we didn't, let's suggest we didn't take the guarantee, it's still like looking at that first year savings of, $560,000. It's not like it would be so contrastingly different, like over or under that 36,000 that we'd be paying, that I feel like it's worth it to waste that money in my
You're
opinion.
saying it is worth it or it
It's
isn't?
not like.
Okay.
I don't, from what I'm understanding, especially considering you said that it's never really had to be paid out.
It's only worth it if all of a sudden we don't realize $200,000 savings, it was worth $300,000. Then we have a problem.
50,000 first even kicking.
Correct. Well, is it 50, and I would
Or
imagine,
37.
he used that as an example. I would also imagine you must have a clause, I'm sure, active guard, district closing, that you're not responsible.
There's so many clauses.
I'm sure there's language in there. I can't imagine you're not.
No, but it's not, if the district closed though, it's not like you didn't save, you would probably save more. So you
Oh.
still have to pay back your project. It's not
I
like,
didn't think of it.
like you're gonna actually save more. But if you do an addition or something like that, we could help you calculate what that would be so you can add that to your budget. Like if it's your base year, we're trying to like emulate what the base year was.
Mhm.
If you, I don't know, like I said, if you close the schools, that's like kind of.
Then you're not spending any money, remember?
Yeah, yeah.
Sure.
Like again, it wouldn't, say you
Okay,
would
so
have to pay your debt, So, so should I move on?
Sorry.
No, don't be sorry at all. I don't want to go too fast, but I want to make sure I can, keep you here. Did I run out of that? I think I overheated it.
So,
Keep going.
It's stuck. I'm trying. Yeah, just. Yeah, thank you. So the next one was to kind of, it was to kind of just give you, again, these, we were trying to build a not to exceed project. So these are the operational savings we grabbed for you that we have in our energy savings plan. It's a little different because project, the energy savings plan we submit to the BPU is 90%, 95% the same. We're allowed to change projects. It's just it's a sample project. Everything gets reviewed. But, this is how they came out, the lighting operational savings based on counts of lamps to ballast, the maintenance cost savings based on the number of pieces of equipment and a budgeted amount. And, Jerry and I are going to work through those to fine tune those as we go through the other fine tuning.
I have a hypothetical question. What if we put out a referendum and the referendum passes? Then what happens? Like what happens with all of these
That's a great question.
figures and numbers and everything that?
Well, what do you mean?
What do you mean?
Like, well.
We wouldn't get rid of these buildings.
No, we'd still be
No,
the
but
same needs.
Do you be able to apply any of this into our new facilities or no? Just.
We would probably just get LED lights if it was a new facility.
Oh, so
Basically,
for
that's what
example, let's hypothetically say we put out a referendum and included kindergarten. And we had some other projects, which I know Mr. Tage has talked about, which are required, and maybe perhaps a small addition onto the high school. I'm just completely hypothetical, okay? I'm just thinking of our needs, right? Very small addition, maybe the 6 pod that we talked about under the overhang, just off the top of my head. So if we were to do that, what you're saying is the cost that we see, right, the savings cost that we see, does that stay separate? Is that what you're asking? Does that stay
Yeah.
separate from the monies that we're saving? Like, how do we look at that? How does that become part of the Easter project? Or does it become part of it? It does not. Okay, he's shaking his head no.
Right, it would be.
Everything is self-funded.
It's separate, okay.
Okay, so it's like getting a rod grant versus the carbonization grant. They're separate. Like, there's, so it's, okay, but we could utilize what we learned in the project to change the way the kind of lighting we put in the things that we do, right?
Exactly.
The way
When you looked at your projects, you would probably say, okay, we know we had savings just in general by doing LED lighting.
Right.
So we're gonna put LED
We,
lighting.
we use our learning, we would use our learning to save money in however we did the
So-
projects.
You would still have additional costs because you're increasing your size of your facilities footprint.
Gotcha.
But it would be less expensive to operate new LED lighting than to put in the old fluorescent.
I understand, that makes sense.
But none of these projects would be redundant and not needed. The project
No,
plan
yeah.
is 18 months, so whatever we're putting the money into and doing, that's needed, even if we expand our facilities with a referendum in the future. right?
And what we keep on saying is,
Yeah, actually, some of them would benefit your projects. Take Bartley Brook, for example, if you're at the kindergarten.
we'd have to add on to the building.
The condition of the boiler at the school could not handle the addition.
Got it.
So if you don't do the boilers through this.
We can't do the addition.
And referendum cost needs to go up.
That's important.
By the cost of adding.
That's important to know, that makes sense.
Yeah, that's something that oftentimes schools will either do an ESA before a referendum to reduce the size of the referendum, or do it next to the referendum and pull out in the energy savings, so you don't have to go for quite as big, it's.
And I think one of the key things that I just wanted to interject, which I think is so important, is that even if we broke even, for lack of a better term, and didn't have extra monies, these projects need to be done, and we don't have the financial capital. I know you said that when you started. I know that people are watching and we're being transparent. Why are we so excited? Why is this a project that we are recommending? Why do we feel this is something we need to move forward with? Because we need to do what we need to do for our facilities, and we don't have the ability to do within our budget.
And I think what Mr. Tage just said too, like that's a big selling
So we
feature
did-
also, that if we don't do this.
The referendum
then
can be more
it would
money.
Be very difficult to do anything.
Right.
So what is
The
not
fact that
energy
just to be a part of. the
Right, even if it
project.
wasn't the energy
It's
savings.
not energy savings, but it's a pressing infrastructure need.
Yes,
Which, if we did not go this route, we would be having to find money in our operational budget.
Which there is
if
none.
a boiler breaks or,
right.
so that's the reason we started
Yeah.
talking to
And,
you
and,
guys. in the
and it's
first place.
always so much more to do,
Right.
on an emergency basis.
Right.
Oh, yes.
You can plan.
Can I ask a quick question? It was on the slide that you were
Yeah.
on.
Sorry, I was.
No, it's okay.
Going back to
I was
the-
gonna point it out and then I couldn't find it. So I see that it says the total price it says solar PPA is $38,000.
So that's just utilizing an exterior consultant to help, and so that's part of the fee for that consultant. And you haven't really seen her work yet, but we have done an RFP. Jerry's seen it. We've done a addendum. I just gave an addendum to look that we're putting out to answer questions that the solar people come. And then the real work that she'll do and that you'll see is once all the vendors give us their proposals, we do a real thorough analysis, and it is really like it's a specialty job where she will take that and rank all the people based on their rate, their references, the material they use. So we need a little help with that because it's very specialty.
So I guess my question is, when you had mentioned that most of the savings is gonna come from lighting,
Right.
and then I saw that, you know, the cost of the potential savings of that solar is, I think it's a 2.4.
I was seeing most of the savings for the guarantee
Mhm.
come from
It does
lighting.
come
Okay.
from
The light.
Yeah.
Right, so.
Solar is very good, though. It's like 137 based on our budget savings, for 137,000 a year.
But she doesn't guarantee it, that's the point. that I'm
Right.
saying.
Okay,
That's not guaranteed through Honeywell.
we don't know what the potential cost of the solar would be yet.
So there's no cost. We looked at
Oh, right.
buying
because
solar. Yeah, it's okay. It's we looked at buying it, but that it didn't make sense for you based on how New Jersey is incentivized and how you fit into the ESAP. So we're doing a power purchase agreement, which is where your different spaces throughout your district will be leased.
We don't pay.
They will provide the system that will guarantee to provide the energy at a lower rate to you. I'm saying it, for everybody.
No, it's good. It's good. No, it's good.
I
It makes
get
sense.
you
And
see.
people are listening, which is good. We want.
Yeah, and so, and then also there is an upside to what we've done because we put the high school canopies as an
Yes.
alternate. So that'll be a decision down the road to see if that saves or what that does.
Right. And I know that they were studied to ensure that structurally, like those buildings can handle solar panels and things like that now.
So
Is there-
from first glance, that all looks good, but the solar company that's selected will do a structural review as their first step. And if we have to change some areas or move some to a different school, we might do some changes based on that result, but at first glance, everything is good.
A lot of it's life expectancy, right, of the roof, so
Correct.
you're not gonna put solar panels on a roof that's 30 years old.
Nope.
Exactly.
You're gonna put it on a roof that's 2 years old.
Yep, we only have solar slotted where you have at least a 15-year warranty.
Why is Oak Tree part of the solar PPA? We already have solar.
This will so we have our system, which is on top of the roof there. It's a 50 kW system. This is additional panels in the field behind the baseball.
We go back.
Oh,
It's not on this website.
Okay,
It's not at net zero yet, so what we would do is build.
so
it
we had
to
the
be net
opportunity
zero.
to expand.
Do it.
And Woodland and Applegate, so Applegate's getting a new roof. Woodland roof is structurally good to roofs.
And the middle
We have
school.
enough warranty left on that.
But not Monroe, for example.
And the solar doesn't do anything, like if there was an issue with the roof, the solar wouldn't affect the warranty
No, it's
in any way?
Correct, that's something that gets coordinated with the service.
Okay.
But, and they will look at every warranty and they'll make sure what system they provide works with the warranty, with different ballasts, different padding.
So we'll have to have warranty approval in order to be able to do it.
Okay.
If the roof company steps in and says we need some sort of ballast with membrane added, then that would have to be built into the cost of solar.
Okay.
You would not extra cost to you.
To the
It would come
company.
through their PPA.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So yeah, just for the solar side for that. So yeah, we did provide the cost per measure, and that's an all-in cost with supervision, project management, and going back to it right here. This also talks about the payback. As you can see, some of the paybacks are very large, but they are balanced by the paybacks that are shorter. And that's the whole idea of this, is to balance things like boilers and chillers with longer payback with things that are, and I can go through each of the measures, is what I have next.
That number is years, right?
What?
The payback number is that how many years it is payback?
Yeah, based on the cost minus the rebates and grants and like a net cost. And operational savings. This is an all-inclusive cost, so it's enough to exceed. If there's savings in any of the procurement, that will come back to the district. It includes also engineering, design, all the applications for Department of Energy and things of that nature. All right, so did you want me to just go through the measures quick? Like I said, I know we've been talking like holistically about the project, but I'll just kind of list off what the projects are. So district-wide, interior and exterior, anything that's not LED now will be LED. Right? So this involves new fixtures, a lot of retrofit fixtures, like these fixtures here are beautiful, but if we get an LED light in there, we'll no longer have a ballast to maintain, and you will, save a lot of money. Certain fixtures aren't economical to retrofit, and you'll have a new fixture. De-stratification, and the thing about LED lighting is, if every school is different, like some districts have beautiful clean lighting like this, other districts, they have to go, they're different colors based on the different inches. It really does clean out, it's beautiful for the spaces. We have in the high school art room, this was just like a need, and we wanted to, it's something we often do with lighting. It does get warm in that space, and we feel like a de-stress fan could really help with comfort in that area. That does save energy too, just by moving the air around and not losing overheat in the ceiling. There'll be new boilers at the Middle and Barclay Brook schools. There's 11 units, because there'll be, what's the word I'm looking for? Smaller boilers, like sections. Right now you have bigger boilers, they'll be smaller, so they're more efficient because you can only use what you need to on the shoulder.
And zones, right?
What?
Similar, yeah. Zone.
Yeah. So what I'm looking for,
Other than that,
condensing boiler.
you already have very high efficient boilers. So, but it's basically what we talked about before with the Asher light, you just like way over. So, little bit of savings, that's why you see the very small payback, but, it would be basically the same thing. That's the nice.
Yeah, but again, you've had to do lots of work on those, right? They're a hassle. In the middle school,
Continue, Ms. Jackson. I just want to understand while you're going through these projects, a lot of these were selected for more schools than what we are now putting in the project. What went into the decision-making of which school to pick and which not to pick?
Highest priority in terms of, for example, boilers, highest priority is the middle school. They are the oldest outside of Applebark. And then the next, Woodland and Barclay Brook and Mill Lake are all the same era. But Barclay Brook has been giving us the most trouble. So we selected in that regard.
Thank you.
in terms of rooftop units, there's, the middle school has one section that will also be doing a new roof on that section, and very large, it's a 30 or 40 ton rooftop unit. And then there's selected air handling units and split systems as well at the middle school. With the middle school boiler and chiller, there'll also be new pumps and variable frequency valves. New chillers at Woodland and Barclay Brook, which are over 20 years old, I believe, right? So, yeah. And again, we had a few schools that lost chillers this last summer, and we were in the middle of an Eastwood one, and they took everything out to get the chiller because their parents did not want people at the school with no cooling. It was really interesting. But it was very stressful for the district, but we managed it. And we have another school that's doing an ESIP, but they're ordering the chiller first, and then we're gonna install it, like they pre-ordered the chiller. So a lot of chillers are going lately, it seems like a trend. Building management systems, again, there'll be some other work going on, but what we'll be working on is the middle school, high school admin and transportation. And it's important to say at the middle school in particularly, all your unit ventilators there, your air handlers, your rooftop units will get new controls in them. A lot of the equipment will be replaced, and that'll come with new controls at the middle school. But like every unit ventilator, your unit is looking fine. It's maybe older, but we get all the insides new. They'll have less breakdowns, be more comfortable, less overheating and failures. And then building envelope is just tightening everything up in different places throughout the building, which is really good energy savings for us. And it actually qualifies for a lot of the custom rebates. You're also going to be doing combined heat and power at the high school. I know I've told you this before, but I'll say it again. It's a green technology. This allows you to take advantage of the 20-year financing by having this technology. So it takes gas and makes electricity, and then the heat. So also you get less expensive electricity that's put into the system. And then the heat that comes from that will get put into your system to supplement your hot water system. And then we're still going to work on some education programs, but we've been working so hard on this, we haven't really gotten to them, but we will.
In regard to the education programs, is that fully, like, I guess I'm wondering how that
It's basically, we'll work with you to make this an educational, like, we don't want to just do this and not take the learning experience. So one of the things that really is fun is like, as the solar gets done, that's something that people can see and touch and feel. The picture up there is we did a ribbon cutting for a solar, like an opening, so like we could get maybe a STEM class or group, or, we need to get with this has been a lot of work. So we'll take any part of our team and share with you whatever way works. If it's, talking about what our jobs are, what we went to school for, doing like a solar ribbon cutting, whatever it is that fits for you.
I did mention to both, we spoke at the
Yeah.
conference. And then I did speak to the middle school and high school principals just to say that, we're still in the thick of this and no decision has been made, but once it's board approved, that you would be coming in and perhaps we'd have a meeting or have a conversation
Yeah, talk
about.
about what's a good fit.
Exactly, so that was
Right,
something
but
that we
not,
talked
but
about.
not creating like new.
No, 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 no,
programs
no,
or
no,
anything.
You have enough for
That's
that.
what's there.
Something more like either it's work experience related or.
Through Korea's technology program, maybe.
Another aspect of work-based learning. where
Yeah,
they
Chris,
would-
technology, yeah,
Yeah,
Chris, yeah.
hands
And
on.
we have the STEM programs.
Yeah.
All right, we kind of, I think, talked about the solar PPA, if you want to advance again. Oh, there we go, it's working out. Again, we talked about that. Just trying to think, this was more for the last time to bring up the conversation about the canopies. The third-party review is complete. I really believe the Board of Public Utilities will be done in the next 48 hours.
Yeah.
It goes really quick. She just put an email at the end of it today and we'll get back to them. And then, again, we will keep updating you on the schedule. I don't know if I've really tweaked this since November, but we're, it looks like we're in good shape to move forward and the finance committee applications are due and your board meetings don't really line up. So that's why we're trying to get this now. I don't know. We can go over that. So, review of next steps. Complete the third review, the Board of Public Utilities review is underway. And these are the resolutions, so I don't know if there's any other conversation or questions on those. We did take off the bottom two on this list, to the long-range facility plan and the Department of Education applications. They can come later, we just took them off for now. They're just something that in the
Yes.
bundle of resolutions or something.
This is not on here. This is not
And
part
I'm
of the
happy
resolution.
to,
at
if
this
you
time.
want, at this point, we can talk about the 4 resolutions briefly, and if there are any questions on them.
Yeah, they were provided because we wanted everybody to have an opportunity to read them so that they had a comfort level if they had questions. So we would be at that point. If anybody had any questions regarding, that would be great.
Sure, we have in essence really 3 resolutions and a refunding bond ordinance. So the first resolution that would be on the agenda is to make application to the local finance board down in Trenton. Their meeting is in February, the second week of February, and the applications are due January 24th, is that?
22nd.
22nd. And so, Phoenix would draft the initial draft of the application for board administration and myself to look at, and we would submit that down to Trenton. There would be a meeting in February that is done by Zoom now, that we would appear to get their approval, because you cannot do the refunding bonds without their approval. So that was the first resolution. After you adopt that at the meeting, we would adopt what we call the energy savings refunding bond ordinance. It's similar to other, I don't know how long each of you have been on the board, but this district has done many refunding bonds since I've been working with you. And it's a 2-step process. It's an introduction at the January meeting. You then publish notice of its introduction, and in the February meeting, you would have a public hearing and a final adoption of that ordinance. And that in essence sets forth a maximum amount of refunding bonds that would be authorized for this project. Currently, based on the numbers we have, we're looking at a not to exceed number of about 13.5 million. Doesn't require you to go out and issue those bonds, but it's a not to exceed to give us some cushion in case something changes. But once the numbers get fine tuned, we can go out when we actually offer the bonds for sale for a lower amount.
Right, that's just to add to that. For purposes of resolution, we need a not to exceed number. And we wanted to make sure that, we know the projects may change or, cost will change. So we want to come up with a higher number just to be safe, in case something changes. We also, in our sizing of the bonds, we assume that Purchasers will pay a premium for the bonds. That could change as we move through the next couple of months if that gets reduced. So we just want to make sure we have some cushion, so that, we only have to do the resolutions once. We don't have to come back and ask for a couple $100,000 more. But as Jackie said, we will only issue what we need to issue for the project. So we authorize the 13.5 million and only issue $12 million. Your debt is $12 million. That $1.5 million will then be canceled, when you do your debt statements and your financials. So that other $1.5 million will go away.
The third resolution, or the second resolution technically, is to approve the energy savings plan and a contract with Honeywell. As Caroline mentioned, you're going to enter into a contract that's going to provide for installation of the energy conservation measures and approving the contract. The last resolution, and this will be dependent on the decision that comes out of, I guess, this committee and the board, and your administration had us break it out separately to give you that flexibility to discuss it, is whether or not you're gonna authorize the guarantee. Lots of times we do the guarantee paragraph in the other resolution, but because we wanted to provide the flexibility for you to have a discussion and make a decision, we could just always, if you decide you're not gonna do that, it'll just get pulled from the agenda. Pretty much all the resolutions are final, but for the addition of, I wanted to confirm the dates that we were still on the schedule and the addition of the dollar amounts, because we were sort of, when I drafted them to get them to you here tonight, we were sort of a little bit in a state of flux as to what maximum amounts we were using and cost of the guarantee, et cetera.
The dollar amount right now, as per whatever is on the table, is 13.5 million.
That's
Not
not
to
to exceed it, right?
Not to exceed
But it could
that.
come out at 12.
Yeah, but that's, what we put in the resolution would be 13.5.
Correct. The only one that
We
would
go
have a
with
different
everything
number would be the cost for the guarantee, if you're gonna do the guarantee.
Is it
Section 1
$36,000?
has a dollar amount for that.
Which is $36,000.
I wasn't sure if it was, I
Does that sound
don't, I
right?
think it was even 36.
Oh.
252.
Oh.
Right, that's.
Mr. Take, regarding that quick guarantee, like I know we've sort of discussed it. Do you have, I guess, what's your opinion on it? Do you feel like it's, like, it's a good idea for us to move forward with that? Do you feel like it's not necessarily something we should? I know you've done this type of thing once or twice, so I'm curious what your expertise says.
I think it really comes down to your peace of mind. And again, in simple terms, you're going from a car that gets 30 miles a gallon to 15, from 15 to 30 miles a gallon. 4/5 of that is in the lighting. The lighting will still be used in the same quantity, plus or minus, that you use. So I think your units of energy in that 4/5 is pretty solid. It gives you peace of mind though, if you want a document to show the public. Flip side, you've already paid for that. Your independence and organization. The Board of Public Utilities is a completely independent agency that vets this, and we've had it vetted twice.
So we had the conversation, the three of us as a team, Sal, myself, and Mr. Shea, and we kept on going back and forth, because, we want to feel comfortable, as the administrative staff, the administrative team, to say, what as we suggest. I can make an argument either way, easily. The argument is exactly what he just said. It's already been vetted. Really, we're at a third time, for lack of a better saying. But then we could also say, well, it's $500,000 that we're looking for, $36,000. It's not a lot of money. It's a lot of money. We check off every dollar, as everybody knows, we're saving pennies here. But in the grand scope of the amount of money we're about to realize, I have to be careful because I'm being tape recorded when I say correctly, the amount of money that we hope to realize, it is not a lot of money in that amount to spend in that peace of mind. The fiduciary responsibility, of course, lays with, stays with the board. The recommendation or the comfort level is with the administration, because we make all the recommendations. I can easily recommend to go ahead and pay for it. It's $36,000 in the grand scheme of the 500,000 plus. It is not a lot of money in comparisons. Or I could easily say it's $36,000, like you said, we could utilize for something else. And we've already vetted this process 2 to 3 times. So we feel comfortable, and with their track record, which they make the statement that they haven't paid out yet on a guarantee. So we can say, let's make it 36,000.
Like in this, like.
Not in this scenario.
The 30-something years.
Oh, we'll take 30 years.
It wouldn't necessarily be so.
And that's the other thing also, is that we have to also miss it by like 50, we just use the number 50 as a round number, 50,000. So you could actually make it really is a comfort level, and I think, as Mrs. Hagan and I, we all agreed, not that we don't want to give you our opinion, but we want you to feel comfortable. As the superintendent, I would feel comfortable either spending the 36,000 or not spending, or saving, I think, 36,000.
That's make it or break it, then.
Correct.
Spend it, but.
If we really feel that in order for the board to move forward, because you're a representation of the board, for the vote, you know, in your opinion of how you feel your constituents on, you know, on this board feel, if you feel that that would really solidify, because I think this project does need to move forward, and I like the timing of it, because our board meeting is next week, then I feel that that's something that really makes people feel, I feel safe, then I would spend the $36,000.
Can I ask you on the timing of it? While other resolutions, I know everything is kind of, you know, we're pressed for time. For the guarantee, can we push that resolution?
Oh, we
That
can?
could be the February.
Oh, that could be the February, oh, okay.
Because we don't need that till the final.
Maybe-
Oh, we don't need to the final contract.
I think.
Find out, you know, and plus, you know, all of us get some time to think about it.
I could send, I'll just send them an email, you know, I deal with them, you know, they're part of
Yeah,
my.
just to see what.
And just say, I know that you did
That's
this
not the
project.
main reason we're, because we want to get the financing in place to get everything else.
So the final contract is February, so the February board meeting, we can have the resolution for,
You couldn't sign, even though you've approved the contract in January, you wouldn't be able to sign it until you made your decision at your February meeting about the guarantee, because you factor the guarantee into the
is
contract.
it very late?
Right, could they? could
I have, I just had it, I
decision
looked in the phone.
Once we know it's for the financing.
Oh, it's the 19th, February 19th.
When is the contract approval at the state their meeting? Like,
February, that's the.
February 12th is,
Oh, so that won't.
but that doesn't.
Oh, it doesn't affect us?
That don't affect the guarantee. It's only the guarantee.
It needs the
We'll
other
approve the
resolution.
other resolution,
Oh, so if that makes you feel more
That's the reason I
comfortable.
said if we can push that one resolution, we can
just the one
push
resolution.
the others out.
But you mentioned something about the.
Just a
I
guarantee.
just want to
Give us a little
understand, 'cause you mentioned about the contract. Can't.
You're approving officers to sign the contract, subject to BPU approval and all the other approvals.
Right.
The terms of the contract are going to be satisfactory to your attorneys and your administrators and your officers. And so you don't have to come back to approve the actual contract. You would have to come back to approve whether or not, if you were going to do the guarantee. And then before they sign the contract, they would make sure the guarantee would then be in the contract. If you decide, you know, end of January, we don't want to do the guarantee.
So we don't need to wait for the board meeting, because it's moot.
You're done. You don't have to do anything or take other action, and you could sign
Good with
the
that.
contract.
I think that's a good idea, that.
And then we can even just discuss it in committee reports next week too.
And then we have, like, we'd like to know as soon as possible, we go through our own internal review and whether we have measurement verification or not really does reflect that. But we might get you the base contract and terms and conditions, all the scope, like get all that to you minus the guarantee sections. We can start to get that reviewed. You know, and all this.
Right, so you have 3/4, if not more of it. Done.
Right, we can give you the base
Right,
contract, and
that's
then
fine.
we would add in the guarantee language. I would want you to have that reviewed if you decide not to do that.
Right, okay, I think that's good.
But I don't want to hold it up because we're getting close, and I think.
I think we're good with that.
So for purposes of this committee, we're good in moving forward with the resolutions for next week.
Resolutions, and then we'll hold up on the guarantee to do a little more research.
Okay, that's good.
We're going with the assumption that you know, just coming down to the basics, everything that is being proposed, Mr. Take, in this project are things that, you know, it's smart to do it today. We're not overdoing anything, but at the same time, we're making the maximum use of the services in
I mean, I
grants and the incentives.
already lasted past
Do
their
it. Oh, yes.
time,
Right,
so
right.
really needs to be done.
This is really the means by which we can address needs that cannot be addressed in the regular budget. That's just a quick.
And what the board is committing to is agreeing to get the financing and stop the ball rolling on these projects. And
And this is the perfect timing, because we really want that summer. Summer's important, that's for school.
we will not see a financial impact for the next year's budget cycle. But in the following year, we will
Correct.
start to see money rolling in and out, both ways. Right, we'll be saving and unless we of
Once
course
it's
take the
done.
guarantee, in which we will start to see the impact If you take the guarantee, do we start paying in 2025?
No,
No.
not until the project
Not
is
until the
done.
project's.
When the project's done is when you would start paying that.
Yeah.
And that's
And-
when you would start counting.
And the 2025, remember, he provided the cushion so that the monies that you need to pay, because we're not actually realizing your savings, is there so that we're not, it's like you're financing the extra because you know you need it to make the payment.
And
Right.
just so you know, right,
Pause for a second, we
as
got
soon as we start, which I think if we wrap this all up and start in March, we can probably start the lighting by end of April into May. I mean, Tim is like ready to go, Tim and Catherine, to get the lighting will start right away. So as soon as we change the first bulb from, T8 to the LED, you're gonna start seeing savings. So you will, but it's not gonna, it's going to be more within 6 months and more than a year.
Okay.
We'll start.
I think it's good.
Anybody else? Any questions?
Thank you.
You've been very patient, you know.
Very
A wise man once said that half of the learning comes from asking good questions. I don't know if our questions are good, but we do ask a lot of questions. I specifically do. But I learned a whole lot through the process
And
of several
really,
meetings.
if you're probably gonna leave and think of another question, please feel free to give it to Jerry.
Yeah.
Provide any information, all of us are here to help and support.
If you ever wonder why his answers are so amazing and so simplistic, because he deals with a board that asks really layman questions all the time, me being the first one. But thank you for being patient.
Our biggest question markers are on this.
Yes, this is.
We're lucky.
I'm in.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you so much.
We have two more things on this. We want to quickly go through the bill list and the 20 that's in out there. So, Mr. Take, I think this is great. We're gonna have the rest of the board look at all the documentation through.
And I'll make sure it's all ready. I'll work with Laura, we'll work with Nancy Schumer, and everything will be
If
ready
we
to
can
go.
get information on the guarantee, how many times.
I'll reach out to the couple of superintendents and
Got it.
do they get it, do they use it?
Thank you.
Thank you very
Thank you very much.
much.
Drive safely.
See you tomorrow with your board packages go out.
Friday.
Tomorrow or Thursday, I'll get you the final resolutions with all the numbers.
We've heard so much about you. It was great to finally meet you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure.
Thank you.
Take care. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
What's the law?
Really quick, two more items left on the agenda. We have the attorney, bill review. We all have concerns.
Yeah.
And I'm sure Laura is expecting that. I know we all have the same concerns, so I can go out and say it. With the Porzio bill was again pretty high.
Oh, I thought you were starting to push bill. I'm like, what's the concern?
Hi, excuse me, it's Hope Blackburn. I've been listening. I don't know if you want me to sit through the rest of it. I'm Adam's partner from Bush.
We apologize, thank you.
Sorry.
No, we're good, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, just want to make sure before I signed out.
Thank you.
Okay, bye-bye.
So what is this?
I know
So
we can
the-
go in depth about anything regarding cases and stuff like that.
No, we don't do
But-
that, right.
I reviewed it and I reached out both to Ms. Bora's finance chair and Ms. Gaviano because without mentioning any details about it,
I had a note here already.
there are several hours of multiple days of things that I just can't imagine that.
I can tell you, there was about almost 50 hours for drafting the summary judgment
Right.
brief, and
Like,
we
it was
spent
like
about $10,000 on it. So our question, Laura, is that,
I mean, there was one day where it's 9.5
And
hours of
5.
one person drafting a brief.
no, typically, and I did do some research when you reached out. At that time, I was myself looking into it. A summary brief can take 20 to 40 hours, but this is, we've been doing this for 3 months straight now. So it's all different cases, it's one case, we need to get into.
Oh, we could ask
we need to
them.
ask questions, and basically what we're saying, we need to ask.
No, this is the same case.
Exactly,
We
this
have
one
no
is the
idea.
same, so this invoice,
So
this invoice is that one case, but 3 consecutive invoices of really high amounts, a lot of that being to drafting these summaries.
Right.
It's
I
too much.
agree, I understand that you're not necessarily gonna finish a summary brief within 2 hours, right? But the idea of 9.5 hours spent, because they bill us by the minute, basically, right? So is that an accurate count? Like, is someone seriously spending almost 10 hours, 4 days straight writing a summary brief for us, but, you know, like not taking break, I mean, I don't really think there's a way for us to ensure that, but it's, you know, like she said, it's almost, you know, $10,000.
We start by asking that. We start by asking.
I
the board is
think
asking
that-
questions.
we need to ask them questions. And then if I feel if they're charging us more money than they should be charging us, then we should follow this up with maybe our attorney to get an estimate on what we take, or maybe the New Jersey Attorney General's office on if we're being billed as a district. Because maybe somebody's not happy with us or somebody's charging us an astronomical amount of money. I think that,
Been a lot of
We
money
need-
over a lot of
yeah,
months.
we've been spending a lot of money. And I think that, I just feel like what he's charging us is not proper.
And in all transparency to the public that's listening in right now, the reason we are all concerned is we now have two law firms, one that's handling, it's just wrapping up the work on open cases, and one that's handling our everyday business. And the discrepancy between the two has been
Huge.
significant, three months in a row. So all board members at this point are concerned and asking questions. And if there is, if this is what it is, then it would make us feel better once we've asked the questions and gotten detailed answers on that.
So perhaps it would, in this particular case, because we have to be very careful what we discuss, we would put this, I was just chatting with Dr. Lehman, I do believe it would be appropriate, and we will confirm this to be a closed session item for the board meeting to discuss the financial concerns of the money spent. I think last time we did ask a question or two, if you remember correctly, where we did say, and he did say that the cost was appropriate. He did say
Yes,
appropriate.
yes.
So I think that would be appropriate. So at least by us bringing it up here, which I think is great, the public knows that we are doing our due diligence. The board is doing our due diligence, and then we're, of course, following through to say we respect the fact that money is being spent, and we want to make sure the money is being spent appropriately. So I think, my suggestion would be that when we do our board agenda, that we put on this as a closed session item. And I think that is appropriate. That would really help. I think.
We're getting billed twice, right? Because then we have them charging us to talk to our law firm,
Correct.
vice versa. It's just
Right.
something.
Right, and we're trying, and we did have the conversation that it does need to remain with them for the time. We know that that is something we did.
Wrap it up.
Right, and I think public needs to know that too, because someone could say, how come they don't just switch? The amount, they said it would be exorbitant to get someone up to speed, right? So we have no choice, we must remain, but we want it, and if they are legitimately spending monies that our attorney would confirm, yes, this is what it costs, then we want to be respectful and say that we have no choice but pay it. But we just want to make sure that the money is being spent appropriately. Right, that's it. Perfect.
Anybody else, any concerns on the attorney, invoices? I did have one for the bill list, which is next on the agenda, really quick, Laura. These are check numbers 4460 to 65. They were for the same, vendor, Meccan Educational Resources, but only in one of the descriptions does it mention Brookside. So I was just wondering, is it all for one library, or is it, if if it's across the district, because it was like $15,000 worth of supplies from this vendor.
So the first one, 4460, would be, Brookside. The second one is, so there are different schools.
Different schools, library, books.
Library books for each of these schools.
Do we
middle
usually
school.
use this vendor, or is it Scholastic? I thought I was.
No, Maggie is a very common,
Common one
Yep.
that we use.
Yep.
And this is about the money that we spend for the libraries
To the library.
beginning of the year?
everything coming through is 100% budgeted.
Okay,
Yep, it's a refreshing of the resources and
okay, because
Yep.
there were no other school names, only Brookside. I was wondering if it was all one school, and that
Yeah.
felt like a lot.
Yeah, there's a school code,
It's the school code.
I can't remember, so.
This is a good question.
If they were saying all schools, I wouldn't have asked that question, but, I understand everybody enters it differently. But that's all the question I had. Anybody else? Any bill list questions? Yes.
Like, I don't want to look at it as a gift horse in the mouth, I think that's the saying, but I noticed that the hot Atifa payment was only $12,000, but it's for 24-25 school year, which is what we're in. I know it's been typically triple.
Yeah,
but that's,
this is actually an adjusted payment because they adjusted the
When they did the count in October and they determined how many students there are, they changed, it's less, it's 27 and 30, so they changed our monthly amount. So that's why. So this is an adjusted amount. We basically would have overpaid last month based on the original.
So they took it off for the money that they.
Okay, so it's what we owe now minus whatever we weren't supposed to have.
So the payment schedule that we received on the state changed because the number of students has decreased.
Okay, so it's not gonna be
$12
$12,000
amount, but this is an adjusted amount because we overpaid last month based on the old payment schedule.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Well, we're gonna be finishing on time. I just want to close the meeting by saying that the agenda, the big agenda for discussion today was a really important one. And there are gonna be a lot of misconceptions around looking at the number 13.5 million that the resolution is gonna have. I encourage all community members that are interested to listen to the meeting, reach out to the administration with questions to get a better understanding. We are doing this for the infrastructure needs and for energy savings in our own district, and that money is going to feed these projects. We are not looking to spend out of our operating budget. This is a great plan, and if we can get this out and rolling, hopefully with the complete board's approval at the next board meeting, it's only going to serve us well. So if you have any questions to all community members that are listening in, please reach out to the administration and get answers. And you're welcome to the board meeting to come and ask questions then as well.
Because it will be in agenda item.
You'll be able to answer them then at that time. That we're finishing right on time.
As far as what you said, is this presentation available on the website or can it be made? Because I mean, it's public,
I read it too.
so I don't know.
Oh, yeah, it's available this one.
Right, but like someone wants to just look through the PowerPoint, sort of like what we get. I mean, it's not.
I'm not sure if it was part of executive attachments or if it was.
We only make, as of right now, we always make everything executive
Yeah,
on
this was
purpose.
an executive attachment today.
Right, but you've seen it, so.
Yeah, confidential, Honeywell has it listed as confidential, so we would ask them. I saw that you're right, the bottom does say confidential. We'll just confirm with them, just to make sure that we're following their confidentiality as well.
Or we watch the meeting.
Watch the meeting, and, you know, we did check the meeting, we all, yeah, it's all recorded, and thank you, everyone, good night, your policy meeting is next.
On